Mark, good evening to you.
Good evening, Dan. Good evening. Good
How are we?
Next question.
Well, okay, fair enough. I want to talk about tapas, but really, I know we should talk about something else because you've had a bit of a day today, haven't you? And I think it's perfect topic to talk about.
I'd love to talk to you about tapas, Dan. That seems a very good subject to talk about. What are we going to start with, the patatas bravas or the albondigas? What do you fancy?
No, we're going to talk about going to public servants' offices a mile away or a few more miles away and deal with those. And then we'll come back to food afterwards, maybe.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I've had quite a day.
Go on then. Let's talk about it because I believe this is something that we all need to share. I mean, nothing's always rosy, nothing's always simple. We have to share the good and the bad. And today, let's say it wasn't one of the best experiences.
No, Dan, I had the most beautiful drive. Very similar to when I drove up to you in Coin into the countryside. I got to see some lovely olive groves and some things I didn't even know what they were, but it was very beautiful. I haven't got an idea what you're talking about.
What about when you passed all those olive groves and you got into that beautiful village, because it is lovely up there, and you're so close to the lakes and you're so close to the do you remember the place that's up there, which I can explain later on once we finish talking about this episode that we're going through now. What about when you got through all of that beauty and managed to get to park up, get out of your car, and go walk into a place that you needed to get to?
Well, talk about parking up. That's not all right. All right, I'll tell you about my day. Right. So I've been semi-retired now for almost 4 months. And I realise I have to register as unemployed. Why I have to register unemployed? Technically, I'm unemployed. I have no intention maybe of working, not in the near future. I have no desire to claim any sort of aid, but I've been told that I need to register or I have the chance of losing my right to Social Security healthcare. Now, if that happens or not, I doubt that would happen. So if I fell off my motorbike tomorrow, I'm sure an ambulance would still pick me off the road. But being a good citizen, I decided I should do this. Now, what I wasn't expecting to do was have to drive an hour inland to do this particular job. Now, I love Spain, but these kind of things drive me absolutely bonkers.
As they would, because there's no real logic as to if you are registered, which is in Spanish is empadronado. If you're a registered resident in your town,
which I am,
you have that documentation. Yes, you are. You should really be able to go to your local place of registry, which would normally be the INEM, the offices of social services and employment.
Yes,
in your local village.
Yes,
and do all of these procedures, but apparently not.
I'm just looking for my stress ball, but I can't seem to find it. No, I was sent north of Cartamar. What was the place called? I can't remember what it's called now. You pronounce it much better.
Allora.
That's the place near the lakes. Right. So I was given an appointment there, and I thought there'd been a mistake. So I checked with my accountant Hestor, who said, "No, that is the case." I said, "Well, that can't be the case because I live down here. Why am I driving an hour inland?" He goes, "A lot of people have to drive inland." So I mentioned it to my neighbour, who's Scottish, and he's been there longer than me. And he said, "Yeah, I had to go there too to do I think he said digital signature, but off camera you said you didn't think that was true. But maybe it's fake news, maybe it's not.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not true, but I do believe it's not necessary because the digital signature normally is done through the town hall. But anyway, as so many other things have changed since I last did them, then maybe things have changed a little bit.
We can.
By the way, sorry, just quickly, let's put on screen now the map for the traveling from Fuengirola to Allora, just to give people a kind of a concept of how long and how much out of the way it is for something so simple.
Maybe have a temperature gauge on me on the way there and on the way back would be an interesting one. I was quite cheerful. I thought, it's okay, I'll go for a little drive in the countryside. I'm sure it's going to be fine. My wife said, "Don't worry, I'll come along with you." And I said, "That'd be brilliant, keep me company." Now, my Spanish is okay. It's decent. My pronunciation is horrendous on many things. I get picked up on it all the time. mainly because I speak with a British or English accent. But my wife said, don't worry, I'll go with you and then I'll sit next to you. And if you don't understand something, I'll just translate it for you. I said, brilliant. Now, I can talk to most people in Spanish. If they want to talk politics, they want to talk football, want to talk current affairs, I have no problem. I can school people in Spanish. I'm quite proud of that. But public offices are a different thing altogether because the people who work in public offices are slightly different beasts. Yeah, would you agree with
As
that?
in, as in civil servants that yeah, that's a conversation for another day about what they can and can't do, what their rules and how they see themselves. Because I have first-hand knowledge of that as well.
Oh, but we can save that for another video. Well, I turned up at this beautiful town. We turned up half an hour early. We managed to find it on the sat nav and realized the closest parking was about 1 kilometer away. No problem at this stage. I'm quite chilled out. Park at the car, walk through these beautiful winding cobble streets, past all the old boys playing dominoes in the bars. We walked past this place because we didn't know where it was because there's no bloody signpost for it. And one of the old boys said, you're looking for this, aren't you? And we said, yes. He go, how do you know? Probably because I'm the only 6'2" blonde bloke walking through the village with a curly haired South American woman, right? Anyway, we go into this office and there's a security guy there who looks, I don't know, like someone who failed the audition for the Gypsy Kings. And he's basically and I basically said, look, I'm here for my appointment at 11 o'clock, but I brought my wife with me. I speak Spanish, but I would like her to go with me. No, she can't do that. I said, but why not? Oh, she can't do that, but you have to ask permission by the woman or the man on the desk. I said, okay, all right. So we're there for 15 minutes waiting. Eventually, I get ushered through the door where I have to use a ticket machine, which almost fell off its stand when I pressed the button. But I got my little ticket. I stayed calm. I relaxed, rehearsed with the kind of lines I wanted to do. And eventually this woman came up to me. My number didn't appear on the screen. And she came up to me and goes, Mr. Vernon? And I said, yeah. And she called me Mr. Vernon, which was quite a surprise. So I thought, oh, maybe I could speak a bit of English. Not that I wanted to speak English, because I wanted to speak Spanish, because we live in Spain. I sit down and I say to her, look, like I just said now, I can speak politics, do this or do that in Spanish. But I'd really appreciate if my wife could sit next to me. For you and me, make our lives easier. If I don't understand anything, she can translate it to me. No, your Spanish is fine, she said. Off we went. The first thing she said went straight over my head. She used a verb I'd never heard before, an expression I'd never heard before, and I had to say, excuse me, could you repeat that? Countless times. Now, as nice as she seemed to start with, she soon turned into this rock. It's like no emotion. She was like a woman without emotions. I actually think she might be a cyborg or a type of robot, because she was just looking straight at me, almost straight through me. And I was being my charming best. I was smiling and being my best and apologizing and saying thank you. But it was getting me nowhere. And in the end, she just turned to me and goes, you're in the wrong place. You need to go somewhere else. Are you sure I'm in the wrong place? Yes, this is my job. You're in the wrong place. Take a leaflet off the guy on the door and he'll tell you where you need to go. I said, but I've been told to come here by my head door. No, wrong. Off you go. And then basically, next. And I was kicked out the door. And that was that, really. That's the level of it. But I did come away with something from my trip there. Because on the way back, we got to walk for a little park area. Very beautiful. And I got to the car, which was parked on a bit of waste ground, as these car parks tend to be these days, these little villages. To get into the car, I realised there's a strange smell in the air. And I had managed to walk in some a dog deposit on the road, and managed to wipe it into the mat of my wife's car. So on the way home, we drove home with both the windows wound down. No matter how much we tried to clean the shoes in the park, we got nowhere. So I've had quite an adventure. That is my little story of my trip today, inland Spain, to try and get my documents sorted out, or in this case, not sorted out.
Not sorted out. I mean, I understand, and while I do this, and I take my glasses off and clean them because I can, because I can. I understand that people being all of a sudden overrun with certain influx of people visiting from other areas. I mean, I can only imagine that a town hall, because I know Alora very well. My brother-in-law or my ex-brother-in-law used to live there. So I've been there many times, and I know what the town's like. I know what the village is like. I know that the normal level of movement around certain offices are. If they're being sent people in their droves, all of a sudden the workers that are there that normally don't have that workload, and they're having to cope with that excess and overwhelming excess, it will put a test on their patience, and especially if it's people that not like yourself, because you speak the language, but they're not used to the variety of people that could visit them on a normal basis. So I kind of get the stress kind of things or side of things. What kind of confuses me is, why were you in the wrong office? What weren't you told by your gestor, for example, if it was the right information or the wrong information? Why did they think that you were in the wrong office? And are you going to have to go back there again, the same place, and go, I'm back again?
Well, I hope I don't have to return there unless it's for a more pleasant reason, because it is a very pretty place, to be fair. And the
Isn't it?
office itself was quite surprisingly big, and there was quite a few desks there. And I would say probably maybe 15 workers working on behind different desks, 14, at least
Right.
14 or 15 different points. And they were pretty professional. I mean, the security guard was quite pleasant and quite nice, and was very kind of. He told my wife when I was inside and she wasn't allowed in that they banned translators going in there because it caused too many problems, which I find extraordinary. Not that I was going to use my wife really as a translator. She was there just if there was an odd problem, which I tend to do in a situation like that because I don't want to misunderstand anything. But I mean, I was recently, I was in court about 6 months ago, and I had to give a statement, and my wife said, "Oh, is it okay if my wife translates the questions to me because I want to understand the questions, but I will answer in Spanish." No problem with doing that. Now, my Spanish was better than the translator because they wouldn't let my wife translate. I had to use the official translator. Now, there was no official translator there in the office. Well, I wouldn't expect there to be anyhow. But it was a very, very frustrating experience. Now, I thought it was kind of like maybe it's a little bit of prejudice against foreigners, and the foreigners are being sent out there. But there were people there from all over. There were Spanish people there, people from Alarin and areas near you. It wasn't just foreigners. We turned up. There's quite a few Chinese there and things like that. So I presumed
Yeah.
it was all foreigners, but it wasn't the case. But when my wife had to redo her Spanish identification card about 2 years ago, and we had to go even further. We had to go to Antequera, which was, I think, another 20 minutes on from where I was, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, when we got there that day, I mean, we literally parked outside, walked into that office, and there was hardly anybody in it. I mean, so I imagine they're trying to give them work to keep them open. But she did her documentation literally in 5 minutes. And then she came back out again. And I said, "Oh, you got it?" She goes, "Oh, no, we have to come back and pick it up." I mean, what do you mean we have to come back and pick it up? She goes, "Oh, no, it gets made in Malaga. Yeah. And then they're going to send it back up here. And I have to come back and sign for it." I said, "You didn't say we could go to Malaga and pick it up." They said, "No, you have to pick it up." So we had to make 2 trips for that. And the more people I've spoken to about these things, it is more common these days that people do get sent inland to do this. And maybe it's a cynical part of what you're suggesting and what I'm thinking as well, to keep these offices open. But what worries me is they're cutting right on the verge of cutting the working week here to 37 and a half hours,
Yeah.
right? And I dread to think what that's going to do for the productivity of the country, especially with the civil servants who are quite notorious for being slow and not particularly motivated when it comes to certain things. Not all of them, to be fair. So if they can't fit me in here or up the coast, or one of the little areas around here, is it that situation going to get worse? I mean, I'm okay because I speak pretty good Spanish, but I can imagine someone who doesn't would be absolutely. I find it quite nerve wracking going there, sitting with that woman, and I'm okay with my Spanish.
Well, you've got the other side as well, and the other part of it, which is any documentation could be sent by registered post, which means you're signing for it anyway.
Yeah,
Which they're going to save themselves money in man hours, which they can dedicate to other things. The postage is going to be cheaper than someone's wage for an hour,
yeah.
and someone sending out, I don't know, 400 documents in an hour and doing that postal service would generate them more money.
Yeah, you
It
think
would be
so?
more beneficial to them. You'd have thought so anyway.
Well, we had when the bar finished. I had to do a couple of court cases, and we had one in Malaga, which had already been delayed for a year, and we all turned up for the court case. I think it was 2 weeks ago in Malaga. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. We had to leave here to get there for 9. It was an early court case, and when we got there, we went up to the area where you think, and he said, "Where's our things not on the list?" I said, "Oh no, yours has been suspended." But I go, "Well, where's the notification?" "Oh, well, we sent the notification out." I said, "Well, I haven't received any notification." So what's going on? Then we kind of like realized that obviously something had gone wrong, and they probably sent it to the business I used to own. But these things are very frustrating, especially when you have a digital signature. They can contact you online. You get a notification. For us to turn up, me with my witness, my wife, my lawyer, to turn up at the court on a Monday morning and it to be cancelled and us not be aware of that, it's just unforgivable because it's people's time and people have things to do. So
Yeah.
it was quite eye opening.
Yeah, it's one of those situations again, as you were saying before about language situations and language barriers, knowing the system, and sometimes even though you speak the language, know how the systems work. Sometimes you just get caught out by circumstance, by the way they're doing things, the way that the hierarchy of either the local government, the regional, or even just the town hall have decided to do something and not let people know, and you can't do anything about it. This is the frustrating part about Spain. I mean, and for those whoever's watching thinking of coming to Spain, we've said this before. Think about what's going on. We're not going to deter you from moving to Spain, but be aware of what happened. It's not always easy. It's not always, oh yeah, but you need to bring. There's a fantastic meme, fantastic video, and you've seen it as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
which is the girl with the that goes into the employment office or the social. It is. We will post it. We will repost it. We will share it because it's a great thing. It sums up very well and very humorously the situation in Spain when it comes to bureaucracy. You can plan your visit as best as possible, and all of a sudden you just get caught out by something that they've all of a sudden plucked from the air. That you go, but I wasn't told about this, and I didn't know about this, you just have to go. Okay, fair enough. I'll take it on the chin. Back next week or whatever at any stage when it's needed.
But I thought I made a mistake, so I sent my Hestor or my ex-Hestor an email and said, "Oh, I went to this place today, and maybe you could help me out because I think I probably made a mistake and applied for the wrong thing." And he goes, "No, you went to the right place. They should have told you this, told you that, and started the process." So I don't know. Maybe that woman didn't like the cut of my jib, or I don't know. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Who knows? But I'm always so polite in these offices. I always try and I tell you what, it is a test of my temper because today I was like, God, I could have. I was.
By the way, if you want to engage with us, please, 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 down below there's a comment section. Drop your comments in there. Let us know what you feel. If you've been triggered by any of this, or you've got an anecdote, or share it with us. Why not? Because we're happy to talk about all kind of things. We're happy for you to engage with us, and we also like you to do all of those things that are down there, and which is comment, like, share, and most importantly, share. If you know someone that's thinking about moving abroad, specifically to Spain, for example, which is where we are, obviously, hence living in Spain, we want them to know about certain things like this. You will be helping them by sharing this video. You never know who it helps. So thank you very much for doing all of those button thingies. Okay.
No problem. Was that directed at me or directed at the public in general?
No, you know what you need to do. Also know what you need to do, which is say thank you very much and see you next week.
Thank you very much. See you next week. And I'm going to lie down in the dark room. Have a good day.
Speak to you soon, mate.
See you soon, mate.